Hello and welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we will start building the logic behind our meme app. So in the previous lecture we have created this layout, which is basically nothing but just the look and feel of our application. Now let's go ahead and jump into the actual code. So for this lecture what we will do is that we will write the code which is going to actually add up an image onto this particular image view which we have right here. So without wasting any time, let's go into the main activity.java, and here what you need to do first is that you need to create a method which is going to be named as add image, because that is what is the on click assigned over here. So let's go ahead and build up a method and let's call it as add image. So that's going to be public void add image. That's going to accept a view. So pass in view over here, and the next thing which you need to do is that you basically need to start the gallery activity and load up that image onto the image view. So in order to do that, we create an intent. So we type intent, make sure that you import the intent. So this equals new intent, and in here what we need to do is that we need to pick up an image from a URL. So we type intent dot action pick, which basically allows you to pick up an image, and you need to pick it up from the media store dot images dot media and dot external content URI. So this is basically the path of your gallery, and then what you need to do is that you need to start activity for result, which is nothing but it's going to start up the gallery activity. So we'll type in start activity for result, and in here pass in the intent, and you also need to pass in the result load image variable, which is nothing but it's actually an ID. So even before passing that ID over here, you need to create a variable. So let's type in private static int. So that's actually an integer variable, and let's name it as result load image and set it equal to 1, and let's basically go ahead and pass it over here. So that's actually going to be result load image, and we have an error over here because this should actually not be present over here. So let me just go ahead and remove that, and once this thing is done, we are good to go. So now once we have started the activity for result, you do need to have the on activity result method. So let's go ahead and create that method over here. So on activity result, and in here the first thing which we do is that we check for the request code. That is, if the request code is equal to the result load image, that means we are good to go. So let's type in if request code is equal to the result load image, and one more condition which we need to check. So if result code equal to result underscore OK, and finally we need to check if the data passed is not equal to null. So we type if null not equal to data, then we are basically good to go. So the first thing which we do is that we get the selected image. So we type URI, let's name this thing as selected image equals, and even before that make sure to import the URI, and that's going to be equal to data dot get data. That's actually going to get your selected image data. And then what we need to do is that we basically need to go ahead and we need to create a string array of the file path column. So what we essentially do here is that we get the column index of the image which we have selected, and then we use that information so as to get the selected image. So let's create a string array, and let's name this as file path column, and this should actually be equal to the actual path where the files actually are located. So that's going to be media store dot images dot media dot data. And once we have this path set up, the next thing which we do is that we get a cursor so that we could actually get the position of the image. So let's create a cursor. So cursor equals get content resolver dot query, and to this let's pass in the selected image. So selected image, and I guess the selected image should be should have the M in the small letters. And after this, let's pass in the file path column as well. So file path column, and then the final parameters are going to be null, null, and null. So the purpose of this code is to basically go ahead and get the selected image. And then finally what we do is that we move the cursor to the first position. So cursor dot move to first should be the method which is going to be called over here. And then what we do is that we basically get the column index from the cursor. So when the gallery activity first starts, we have moved the cursor to the first position, and now what we do is that when the user actually selects a particular image, we basically get the column index of that particular thing by using the cursor. So we type in int column index equals cursor dot get column index, and that should be file path column on the 0th position. Then we type string picture path, and this is actually going to get the actual path of the picture where the picture is located. So we will type in cursor dot, that should be dot, so cursor dot get string from the column index. And finally, once we have the path, you could go ahead and close the cursor. So cursor dot close. And then finally what you need to do is that you do need to get a reference to the meme image and set the image view to the particular image. So what we do here is that we create an image view reference. So that's going to be image view equals typecast it to image view. That should be find view by id dot id dot the meme image, as meme image is the id of the image view which we are working with. And then finally image view dot set image bitmap, that is basically set the image to a particular bitmap image. That's going to be bitmap factory dot decode file, and we decode the file path, which is nothing but the picture path which we basically get from here. So once this thing is done, our image should basically be able to set it up on its own. So once we are done with this, we are basically done adding the functionality to get the image from the gallery and add it to the image view. So in the next lecture, what we will do is that we will code our next button, which is the try button right here. So what this try button is going to do is that once the image is added to the image view and once the edit texts are laid out, this try button is actually going to take the text from here and it's going to place it on the image. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.